Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah.
Red 13 in Framingham. Oh no, Oktapus and Friends. Are we going to do that at the same time, Sean?
Yeah, do it.
We almost had it.
Oh no, Oktapus and Friends.
Oh boy.
Almost in harmony, too.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jared Hancock.
He's here. He's
There he
back.
is.
It's our boy right here.
Again.
Yeah, again. All right, so we had Jared on before we had the production level to where we have it now, where we felt comfortable putting it out there. So, thanks for being a guinea pig. We appreciate it. You're a boy.
That's what I do.
You were the test subject, and now you get to come back and be the real deal.
Right. Jared, we need you back now. We're ready to go.
Well, now we're ready.
Yeah. So who are you and what do you do, man?
Just a guy.
Who's your daddy and what do you do?
He's just a guy disguised as a guy.
He's a creative
playing
guy.
Another guy.
For us at Red 13 anyways, this is the guy that's he's responsible for the good parts of the looks of videos. I mean, he's the creative brain behind a lot of the actual physical looks, and he does a bunch of other things too. But, let's tell the people what you do, man.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a big question. A lot of people ask you what it is you do. I've sort of now just generalized the term producer. So like, what do you do? I'm a producer.
That's true.
Yeah.
What do you produce? A lot of different things.
Produce tons of things. Yeah, that's a good way to do it because it's like, oh, well, I own a company and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a songwriter. No, I'm just a producer and I produce
something that
everything.
I think it's fucking cool. I'll produce it.
Yeah.
True. That is a true statement right there. Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Very good.
So Jared is one of the founders and owners of Surefire
Creative Studios. Yeah.
Surefire Creative out of Lowell, which is one of our partner studios. Do work collectively together.
Yeah.
And he's our set designer for music videos and creative, all these brand videos and everything.
Videos and everything. Yeah.
But I guess why don't you give us a little history on how you even came about into the music world? Like why are you doing what you're doing? What set you down that path?
Yeah, because I love it. I mean, I started in music. Of course, we all started in music. I feel like all of us did. You love something, you learn it, you start doing it, and you start realizing that you can actually make a career out of it. Start connecting with other people, and just realizing that you're actually doing something that you love. And that's not work. That ends up being fun. You started doing other things. I've always had other jobs at other times, and
I just said that the other day. I mean, it was corny as shit when I said it, but I did, and I meant it.
Yeah.
I said the same thing you just said. I don't really work. I have fun. It's not work. Work is different.
Right.
Yeah.
At times it can be work, and there are components of it that definitely are work, just like anything else, for it to be a career. But it's way more rewarding to do that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I started in the music business, 16 years ago. My partner Brady and we opened the studio. We opened Surefire in Lowell. Took out a business loan and got the whole thing going and started recording clients and ended up getting some placements on Under Armour and doing some work with Brooke Hogan and Lisa Left Eye Lopez album, and we ended up getting a couple Grammy nominations at the time for gospel of all things. None of us I think are avid churchgoers, but we've got gospel Grammy nominations, which is really cool. From Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's father, who was really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you guys have a Grammy nomination in gospel. We have one with Jim in, what is it?
It's in Americana. It's in Americana. I don't know.
It's just so obscure. I always thought that was funny how,
I'll quickly interject. The reason it's obscure is because that's how, if you're planning to get a Grammy and you have, a PR firm, they try to go into those little lanes because that's how you get in,
Well, it's lobbying. It's like running. It's like running for politics, except on the music world and even in the film world. Like, you go and you lobby to all these people that are the. I
emailed like 150 people that I thought might be part of the RIAA, and I was like, "Hey," and then it went on for a while. But I don't mean to hijack your discussion, but it went on for a while. But the reality was, we were lobbying. We were like, "Hey, please!" And since no one's in Americana, you'll have no problem doing that. It's like, come on now.
Well, before you move on, why don't you tell us about your process and how that came about? Because you just mentioned that it was Beyonce Knowles' father, and so what is that? Tell us about that situation and how you guys ended up getting that going.
That connection came about from a girl group that I was managing for a while, a teenage pop girl group called the Varsity Girls, and production that we put together with them. I mean, they ended up on Nickelodeon, sponsored by Walmart, and we ended up connecting with a woman down in New York City who was connected to Beyonce, and she fell in love with the project. She was helping us on the publishing side with Varsity Girls, and she also then after that said, hey, I got this other project that I'm working on. It's gospel. It's for Matthew Knowles. Would you guys be interested? I said, absolutely. So, all musicians, so we could play anything. It's the same music, So they came up and they stayed right nearby the studio in Andover, and we ended up doing a whole entire album with them. It was really cool. And cool. To get the nomination was amazing.
That was so cool.
To be beat by Kurt Franklin of all people, I was like, I don't care that he's amazing.
But you guys got a nomination. That's cool.
Yeah,
you were in the runnings. That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's you never know what's gonna happen. That's the other cool thing about this industry is you never fucking know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you think for a little while, and then something happens, and it reroutes you, and you go that way, and then another opportunity comes and takes you there, and then you have a pitfall, and that drops you over here. It's
it's dramatically different from any other industry where sometimes you plan for one thing, and it ends up being something else. Well, most places it's slightly something else, and this it could be completely different.
You're a producer, you're a content creator, but you're also an amazing pianist. I imagine that kind of came into play in the gospel side.
It was cool. It was fun to play.
So you were the piano player on that with that album.
So I for a long time I did call myself a pianist, right? And then I started producing, and when you produce, you just 16 bars, cut, paste, loop, and I started doing this for this classical artist, John Michael Williams, and creating these classical pieces with him. It was incredible. And then he got selected to perform at the 100th anniversary of Carnegie Hall, and he said, "Why don't you accompany me? You wrote the records with me." I was like, "Oh, absolutely."
Oh boy!
And I realized I've never played one of my classical songs all from beginning to end.
Yeah, right.
Ever.
You're just playing it like 4 bars at a time. Like, that was great.
And from that, I had to really kick myself in the ass to practice to play Carnegie Hall. And at that moment, I'm like, no, I'm not a pianist. I'm a piano player.
You know what? Let's not minimize.
Don't put me back in that position.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It's like, let's not minimize. He played fucking Carnegie Hall. That's crazy.
I didn't even know. I didn't know that until just now. So that's cool. That's another little piece of information.
Do you ever kind of like look back at like stuff you've played and we're like, man, I was good. What happened to me?
Nice.
I've had a few of those. Like I've listened back to like old demos of songs or something. I was like, man, that was a cool.
I used to know how to play.
Yeah, I used to know how to play. And I used to write like very creative and cool things that like I feel like it's a lot to think about those things. Coming up with those things now.
Well, I think now especially with technology, we're challenged as producers. It's more so about the aesthetic and creating something that's detuned or out of tune or messed up. So I'll surround myself with musicians in the studio, and I could easily probably play myself. I know I'm going to gravitate towards just phrases and things that I can play well, and I like I don't want to do that. So I want to sit with musicians who are going to play things that aren't familiar to me. And then I always say to them, you guys play something great, and then I'm going to fuck it up. That's how we're going to make something cool.
I agree with that.
I'm going to detune it, flip it around.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's like you used to you had like a canvas of you were learning what your thing was. Right. But then now like we've been doing it for so long, like decades of doing it, like we kind of fall into oh, these are my licks, these are my riffs, you know what I mean?
Well, how many times have you heard a song?
This is my bag of tools that it's good to kind of get some other people that even if you might be a guitar player, like I had someone else come play a solo on this artist we work with, Jenny Teeter, her song Daughter of the Devil.
Love Jenny.
Like that, there was a spot for a guitar solo, and I'm like, I don't want to play. I'm like, I don't want to hear my stupid licks that I hear all the time.
That's what makes you a producer. You know better.
Guitar solo. So I had local blues girl, Sonia Ray Taylor, who's I think nasty at guitar. Awesome. And I think she's way nastier than me to come play that because I knew it wouldn't be what I would do.
Is Sonia's record the record I always ask you to play? The one
that doing to me one.
Yeah. I love that record.
I know. I gotta hit her up.
Did I play organ on that? Or
you did? Yeah.
It was one of the best records I've heard. I love that song.
Yeah, she's good. She's great.
Yeah. Shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out to Sonia Ray Taylor and Jenny. Jenny, we just had we dropped hers last week.
Awesome.
Podcast.
Yeah, Jenny's super talented. Yeah. She's awesome to work with. Daughter of the Devil, that video. That's my daughter that's in that video.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that makes me the devil, I guess, right?
I guess so.
So getting back to music though, what you said about just musicianship and what I think the biggest challenge now is there isn't a chord progression that doesn't sound. You hear somebody do any chord progression you do, it's going to sound like, oh, that reminds me of this song that I heard. Yeah. But that's what's going to always happen. Even melodically now, even lyrically, it's like there's because the world has been so saturated with stuff, and it's so easy to record. So many recordings that are out there that sound similar to something else. So that now what you do to make it different is the aesthetic,
trash.
The timbre of it.
Good trash.
It's got to sound unique. It's got to be a sound no one's ever heard. That's why a lot of these software and synth companies are they're driving the industry,
crushing it right now.
Yeah. Go to companies like Isotope.
Yep.
Shout out to Isotope.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
They're amazing. They're leading the trends. So.
Yeah, they definitely give you a bag of tools that help to make things different for sure. I like using their stuff a lot.
And likewise with the artists, everybody we work with, I think the image plays into it just as much as the sound does now as well, because, back when I grew up, Jim and I grew up, he grew up probably a decade before me, but we
Nice, very nice.
We are the oldest two people here, so we throw that out there. But we just growing up in the 90s, say you the first time you experienced an artist was through your ears, and then you try to figure out what they might look like, and then eventually you saw them. Whereas now the first time you experience them is through your eyes, and then you decide if you want to even listen to them.
This is weird you brought that up, but when I first started listening to music, it was with my eyes. I would go through my mother's records, and it was all about a record cover. You would never put on something unless it
she looks hot. What does she sound like?
But what he's saying too is you would hear somebody on the radio and you wouldn't know what they looked like yet. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't know anything about them.
Because MTV kind of changed that game with the whole visual aspect, and you guys were before that.
Right. If you flipped over the cover, maybe, just maybe, you would see the picture of the artist.
Yeah.
But sometimes not.
Right? Yeah, video killed the radio star.
For sure. Well, it definitely did. Yeah. Now radio's truly dead.
But now you're an influencer before you're even an artist in some cases. See some of these kids, they amass a giant following, and then they're like, all right, you know what, I'm going to sing or I'm going to be a rapper. Influencers doing that, and it's the opposite. That they already have the fan base, and then they add the art to it.
I did it. We started a tour called the Fan Rave, and we took these social media stars who had anywhere from 100,000 followers. Our biggest kid had 3 million, and these are kids that are huge on Vine, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the platform is. And it was so backwards to me because we toured the country. We did Vegas, we did Dallas, Chicago, everywhere. We sold out every single show, which blew my mind. We sold out the meet and greet tickets prior to the show, which were about 11 times the price as the admission ticket, but those were gone immediately. It was unbelievable to me. And the only promo we ever did was through their social media channels. So these kids would just pump the show through their channel to their audience, wherever they were. And, based on analytics, you could see from their followers where they are and who's got a heavier following in which cities and that sort of thing. And you would pair different influencers based on where their audience was. And we do these shows all around the country, and it was crazy to see this, and producing these shows with these kids. What I realized is, have an audience. This is why the meet and greets sell out fast, is because everyone wants to meet these stars, but they could really care less about watching them do a show because nobody even knows what they're going to do on stage. They're an influencer.
They just want the photo.
Right. So all these kids are making up what they're going. They're asking me, what should I do on stage? I'm like, what do you mean? What should you do? You don't know what to do.
Yeah, what's your talent?
Yeah.
I just look pretty.
Yeah.
That's honestly. So when we'd come to the New England area, this is our home base. I would of course filter every one of them through the studio, and we'd try to experiment with music and things like that, and see what worked for them, and try to create content. It was interesting to me because it was such a backwards way. It's like we've already got an audience. So let's figure out what to do for this audience.
I like that way better, to be honest with you. I think it's a lot easier, less stressful to do that, especially with someone like you helping,
Yeah.
For real.
But then you have all these artists now that are having the struggle to gain the audience. It's really funny. You have bands, and you have, solo artists, and they're trying to build it, and they're trying to use their music. And then you got these influencers that are just using selfies, and they're using, content, and they're crushing it. And then they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to open up that revenue stream. We're going to rap today,
Right.
And then it's so crazy how that has kind of flip-flopped, and it's created this weird world.
And it doesn't work for all of them, though. No. It works for some of them for sure. Yeah. But some of them actually have that talent. They're like, oh, I can sing. And you're like, oh shit, you can.
Right.
And some of them can, and then they just melodyne the shit out of them, and then they can.
Yeah, it might result in a initial thing because they're like, oh, I love this influencer, I'm gonna go listen to them. But then it's like, if it's not really that good, they're like, oh well, I'm not gonna care about their music. I'm still only gonna care about the thing that I like them for. You know what I mean? I feel like having an audience doesn't necessarily mean that you can make it in music. Look at Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian, that went and tried, and then those records flopped miserably. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily translate. And the same thing from an acting world to a music world.
You're talking about a couple of vapid idiots, though. I mean, that's great analogy, but I feel like, and I always say it, you can't stop anyone who puts their mind to it and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes they might be guided into a new lane of music or fashion or whatever, but you're not going to stop.
Well, no, yeah. What I mean, it's just its own thing. Music is its own world. You know what I mean?
It's powerful. If you get through in music, I think it's easier to get through in a lot of things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But you might end up in a different lane, is what he's saying.
For sure.
And you might become like Ryan Seacrest and be a host, or like a VJ, as opposed.
And if it makes you happy, that's cool.
Yeah. You can gather an audience, and you could try to sing, but the audience is going to tell you where you're supposed to be.
Yes, they will.
Right, They'll place you where you're going to go if you listen, and if you
or you'll go away.
Yeah, or you'll be gone, casted, fucking. Away.
Banished.
Any one of the above.
Yeah.
But everyone's a curator to some degree of music. We've all got our iPods and iPhones and everything full of music. And I've always said, there's no such thing as really competition in this industry. I know it sounds weird, but for the way when you hear a new record you like, or a new album, a new artist that you discover that you love, you don't go to your iPhone and delete another artist to put them on. You know what I mean? You just
I don't got room.
It compliments them.
Fuck you, Led Zeppelin.
You're dead to me.
If there's not enough fucking room, you get a new phone. You know what I mean? That's how much we love music.
Yeah, no, it's actually very true.
So it's more about collaborating than anything, honestly. That's what I think the mindset should always be.
Well, that is why I think the rock industry kind of like fizzled out, because it doesn't collaborate. And that's a huge issue that I've always said, and I've always been a big,
They're starting to now. You're starting to see it start happening. They're like, oh, maybe we should try that.
Yeah, like obviously assholes. Yeah. Like I went to, who did we go watch speak?
What's his name from Atlantic?
One of the biggest A&Rs.
Flom.
Jason Flom.
Yeah.
And like I was like
Bob Leftitz.
And Bob Leftitz, and I spoke, and I said something about, like, I think the rock industry's dead because no one collaborates. There's nobody adding features, and they like looked at me like,
yeah, they're like, how would they even do that?
How would they do that? And I was like, what do you mean?
Like Limp Bizkit and Korn did it all the time.
Exactly. Run DMC and Aerosmith, and like, there's been multiple times that this has happened and it's been successful. It's just about the fact that there's only once in a while it happens.
Well, the proof goes all the way back. I mean, I remember being a kid and hearing like a super dope R&B group named In Vogue, right, who did all these songs and like Never Gonna Get It and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, I'll never forget that song came out. What was that record with the wrote a song about it? Like to hear it? Here you go, Free Your Mind.
Yeah.
Free your mind.
With a guitar. And it's a rock song. Yeah, all of a sudden that came out. I was like, whoa, this is really different for them. Like, this is really cool. I felt
like a big beat
it
too.
Was used rock has been used selectively in other genres, but it's strategic. And every time it's done it, though, it's been a success. Like Ashanti came out with all these R&B records, and she couldn't just pop through, the screen of R&B till all of a sudden the song Only You came out, and you heard that guitar lick. So like it's been used strategically.
Cypress Hill.
But that's the proof
of the rock superstar.
Right.
That song was so good.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah. That's the proof that's in the pudding, that people need to understand that rock has an edge and an appeal to it that shouldn't encourage people to continue. It's been used over history,
Well, that's why I think Post Malone is so successful,
right?
Because he mixes it so well, and I think that's why MGK is doing so well too right now with his new record.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And I think that the industry for some reason likes to be on its own island over here. Like, hey, the rest of the music industry is going to collaborate over here. We're just going to hang out over here, and then every now and then we'll let you over here.
Well, just like everyone that's still there, like, can't move on from like Led Zeppelin. Like they can't be like accept a new rock sound into their hearts. They're just like, no, this was when rock was best. And so
but we're talking about something from a long time ago. Rock and roll was cutting edge in every way for a long time, but it hasn't been in 30 years or more. Well, and you know why? Yeah. Everything evolves and falls away. That's why we're not listening to fucking Baroque chanting and monks chanting and all this, like people hitting sticks and stones on rocks.
I do.
You do? I know you do, but like it all goes away at some point, and rock and roll is fucking one of those things.
Well, the thing is, rock and roll was dangerous.
It was.
And it was exciting, and it was because it was dangerous, that's why it gravitated, an audience to it, mostly females. And then now hip hop is dangerous, and now they're the new danger, and that's why you're seeing, you see, more females at a hip hop show than you do at a rock show now, all the time.
Yeah, but even when something is like rock now, it might not get the label. It might just get alternative or something, because the people in the rock world, they're like, shame it. They're like,
scared.
No, that's not rock.
Yeah, they're the cool kids at the fucking table, but they don't realize that they're not the cool kids anymore.
Yeah, that's too big. There's too many people that like that. That's not rock.
Yeah.
And that is why Nickelback is the best band in metal.
Well, then you got Ken Lewis's artist,
Des Rocks.
Des Rocks, and he's doing really well, and he's doing something creative and different, and he's doing it his own way. And I always thought that was cool too. Like I like watching his come up and his progression, and he's being accepted into the world, but he's also still modern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a couple of I think what I would think are the newer standouts of him, Grandson. Obviously MGK is making that crossover,
which is crazy. I love that record right now.
Yeah,
have you heard any of it yet?
Of course.
It's so badass.
It's amazing.
It sounds like the record that Blink-182 should have made.
Right.
It's fucking awesome.
Well, he's embracing it. He's embracing that.
Yeah.
Travis
Barker was there.
I'm totally
helping him.
I'm ready for the pop punk comeback. I'm all about it.
Well, it's happening now. I mean, Post Malone is the beginning of it. I think. Beginning meaning like he's leading right now. He's got 9 billboards the other day. Billboard Awards, I think, are some of the most accurate there are because it's not based on any board of advisors or anything like that. It's literally truly based on charts. Yeah. And chart metrics now are based on who listens
charts
to what.
Charts are lied to though, Jared. Come on, give me a fucking break.
No. Nowadays, I think it's so much more accurate. It's helped revive a lot of rock bands who people thought were dead because you buy the album, take it home, and who knows how many times it gets fucking listened to. Whereas now, when you've got it and you're streaming it, they can tell, oh no, shit, this band is killing it now. They're still being listened to here,
Well, that's the funny thing, I guess, in terms of that is the one place where people are still buying records. You know what I mean? Is the rock world,
right?
Rock fans,
like physical records.
Physical CDs. Records and doing physical downloads. You know what I mean? Like we have, Red 13 Records, and we have distribution. And it's funny that the pop and hip hop artists that we have through there only streams.
Well, so there's the culture that comes along with it. Going to the concert, getting the album, getting the post, that sort of thing. Whereas like it's the same thing in hip hop, where a lot of hip hop DJs go into the record store, getting that record, the vinyl, so you could scratch it. It's like there's a culture that comes with it.
And so those artists are only streams. And you look at when we were running a Prospect Hill or Lansdowne song through there. There's a whole thing of what is this section? Downloads? What the hell?
Right. I know. I was like, downloads still happen? I thought they removed that.
I guess they couldn't. I don't know. I don't know where they're coming from, but they are coming from somewhere.
How do you download? How do you pay for it?
Last time,
probably
I was leaving LA last year or whatever, and I downloaded Kendrick's Damn album because I wanted to listen to it on the plane, and I wasn't playing with their fucking internet. So that's I mean, there's a for instance,
that's true.
And so I just said,
well, you know what it is? So that actually might be the reason why, because maybe that Target demo has very weak Wi-Fi because of where they are. Maybe in the middle of fucking farmland, Illinois.
It could be true.
In order for them to listen to the record, they can't stream it well because their internet sucks. Because I've been to places in Illinois.
And it's international though. Even the rock fans internationally. Like I remember I called I got us set up to do what's it called, like sales with Discmasters, so I could stop sending out the CDs. So they would just get the sale in, and they'll send it out. Or whatever. And I was like, yeah, we get 4 or 5 sales a month. And he was like, huh? I was like, yeah. He was like, whoa, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
I thought that was nuts when you said that to me too. I was
there's
like, wow.
people that are just always reaching out to buy the physical record still. And I can imagine, Lansdowne, we're not like a big, we do well, but we're not like one of these big,
not Shinedown.
We're not Shinedown. We're not one of these legacy names that, I have to imagine that if we're doing that, they're doing it times 10 still on a physical level.
I have a theory. I think rock fans in general are more nostalgic. It's kind of weird, but I think like hip hop fans are living in the now, right now. Like everything is right now, and their whole culture is everything's now. And I actually like that. I don't like this waiting around for rock bands to put out an album. But I think they're nostalgic. Fans are nostalgic. Like these people that are like Kiss fans or any of that shit, they will fucking kill you if you make fun of their stupid band. Like, and they buy all of it. Like
stupid band.
Yeah, no. But I think that might be a little part of it. Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like rock's driven a lot of trends, and changed the industry in so many ways over the years, so much that it changed a lot of the way we thought about concerts, and the way we thought about what a record should be. And, now they introduce the concept of not really understanding what the fuck he's saying, but knowing that you like the vibe. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
That's what most people complain about hip hop now, but that's where it came from.
But in a lot of ways too, it's a lot harder for a band to meet that content level that pop artists and hip hop artists can make, because they can come in, someone's already made an instrumental that you like, and you go in and you do your thing over it, and next day you have, and they're just doing this. They're just doing this every day. Whereas for a band, it's like a fucking
Pop Kid shows up the next day and their videos made and their albums pressed and they're like cool, and they go hop in the Ferrari and drive off. But the rock band, they're fucking still trying to tune up their guitars and they're like, I don't know, bro.
Yeah, the rap, by the time they got the drum set mic, the fucking Rap Kid did fucking 3 albums.
Yeah,
it's true, man.
So because right now the whole world is like, the demand for content is like yesterday. They want that song yesterday, and they want, and so you got these artists like these SoundCloud rappers that are just putting out a fucking song every hour.
And a lot of it's good because there's guys just in their bedrooms just crushing out beats all day that are dope, that they get to like
Billie Eilish.
Yeah, and they're going through and they're like, oh, this beat's dope. You know what I mean? It's not like the rock band is going through fucking rock beats, but which could be a cool thing.
I know we talk about that all the time. I know, but and so the thing with that is, you have they can't keep up. That's the issue. Like they just can't keep up. But it's always been a numbers game, and now it's just they can just move faster.
Yeah.
So the chances of you getting a hit song or getting a song that actually stands out by putting out that much music is much higher, as opposed to putting one album out of 10 songs of audio work every year. These guys are putting out 50 fucking songs in a year, so their chances are 5 times
and they have
higher.
And they're putting out 50 songs, but they recorded like 200. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So what is it about rock that makes it rock, though? Is it the orchestration? Because it sounds like that's like the biggest overhead, is the time put involved to setting up an instrument and tuning it and all this and that.
It's collaborative. Yeah. It's a group. It's a group thing. You got to wait for the guy. Oh, now I sing or
everyone on their own schedule.
Well, what about a rock artist? Like there's a lot of solo rock artists.
But they still have a band waiting around for them. There's still that kind of. You said it's like tuning guitars or waiting for anybody. It's kind of weird.
It's still easier though. So having just a solo rock guy is still going to be faster than a full band, because that guy's making the decision.
Is that what makes it rock? The instrumentation?
Yeah, the instrumentation definitely. Like,
because hip hop has never had a single set of instruments. R&B has never had, like most genres, other than maybe classical jazz.
Well, you define rock as a guitar, rhythm, lead guitar, bass, drums. Like you need to have
it's
that.
A tone, and it's a tone of and I think it's a tone of vocal too.
For me. There's a tone of vocal.
So that's the challenge? Then make a fucking rock song that doesn't have that orchestration, but still is.
Yeah,
rock.
That's 9 Inch Nails. They got away with it. He was able to do it.
And then he can continue that with Marilyn Manson. Same thing.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson's he's done songs with DMX.
They did it in a way. They are like kind of like that. What you're saying. They were able to kind of still be considered rock and be able to get on the radio and but they don't need to have a full like live production.
Yeah, because if Ashanti can do it when it's literally like literally a rock song, but they call it R&B, then why couldn't rock artists do it and have it still be rock?
No, I think they definitely can. It's that a lot of them don't right now. You know what I mean? They still on the, we track. If anything, they do twice as much, where they produce a full beat underneath the body of the drums, bass, guitars, and everything, and then they're adding 808s and production and all the other stuff that's just the one layer in another track. So
I think
they're not stripped. If anything, they're just adding a layer of work.
Well, if the nostalgia part to it, I love though. I think that's cool. I would still buy a CD or a tape or whatever to frame it though and hang it up, because where the fuck are you going to buy a CD player to play it?
It's a weird thing that like vinyl is on the rise, as just like what you're saying. I think as a like just a commemorative piece of like something you want to put up in your room,
Yeah.
Well, and vinyl still has its own sound that's unique that you're not going to get from your phone. So you still get like this warmth sound. It's kind of cool. It's like, hey, I got a record player, you know?
Yeah. It is very cool to listen to records.
It's
fucking awesome.
And now
so it's an experience. It's an aesthetic. It's a fucking...
That's an audiophile appeal, though. I feel like,
but
most
even for some kids, they like think it's cool, It's like that throwback thing. Like maybe their parents had one.
Get that crackle.
They get the crackle. They're, they're impressing the girl like, hey, check out my record collection. listen. Pick out a record. We're gonna listen to it before we Netflix and chill.
I think another downside to rock dudes, and I'm not shitting on my rock dudes, but how many guys here know the rock dudes that are like, fuck that, man? Like, just that whole idea of anything outside their fucking wheelhouse is just like kind of disturbing, and they're not doing it. And if that means like to be a rock band and do something R&B, or, you know, not use a guitar, like that shit's never happening. And I can't say never, but not really.
Well, no, but when it does, the rock industry forces you to call yourself something else.
Correct. Yeah, you got a point there.
You know what I mean? Like, and then they'll get mad like, oh, why is that person like the rock Grammy? They're not rock, but they are to the rest of the world. Besides rock fans, they are rock.
Well, and they've put themselves in such a fucking corner that the only outlet is like Octane. You know, like really, like they have like Sirius XM Octane. And so like that's like their one outlet now. And they're like, and they do these things where they'll bring like 3 new artists in a week. And if anything doesn't sound like the one band that they like, they're like, that thing's trash. Get it out of here. It's weird. It's scary. It's different.
Put it on Alt Nation.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, it looks like, so rock is doing, so the difference between rock and like alternative is the same thing between rap and hip hop. You know, it's like, what?
But they mingle though. At least rap and hip hop mingle. You know, like they do collaborations. They you know, like that's the problem.
But those who identify with rap are very, very quick to identify and distinguish the difference between hip hop and rap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think also rap and hip hop just have such a vast audience that they can get away and they can all swim around and fucking be fine, and there's enough audience there. I think the problem with rock is it's narrowed down because country took a ton of it.
Yeah.
You know, country rock is crushing.
Yeah,
killing it. They took all the girls. They said, "Fuck you, rock. We're taking the girls."
I mean, country's been. I feel like Aerosmith has been a country band my whole life. I've been listening to country music, didn't even know it was disguised. You know,
country music is 80s hair metal with the amp turned down a little bit. That's it. That's fucking it. I mean, that's how I see it. Yeah. Same music, same attitude.
Nickelback with a little twang.
It's twang back. Yeah.
Twang back.
Twang back. So
yeah. Well, let's kind of circle back to stuff that you've worked on.
Let's talk about BB Rexa. I like to do that.
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. The stuff working with her. I mean, you didn't mention that earlier, but that's pretty fucking dope.
She's amazing. She's a rock star for sure. She very much drives everything that's happening around her. That's for certain. You know, I mean, she's got a great team. I watched her go through multiple different managers. You know, she doesn't take no for an answer, and she doesn't settle for something that's less than what she wants to get done. You know, she's incredible. You know, I knew from the day we first worked with her in the studio that she was definitely going to have a colossal degree of success. I just didn't know exactly what she was going to do, because at the time she was mostly writing for others, you know, and she was, I mean, I saw Diane Warren on a FaceTime. It was for the first time, because she was co-writing with her, you know, at the time in the studio, and she had just got the placement with Eminem and Rihanna, the Monster.
Awesome song.
Yeah,
such a great song.
Big record.
Huge record.
Yeah. And there was a thing that like Rihanna, like BB had sang the demo in such a way that had that little, you know, dip up in the vocal or whatever in the high, that Rihanna did that because that was like what made that thing a hook, is actually the way she sang it too.
Right. Yeah, BB's very distinct the way she sounds and sings, and you know, she's got a sound to her. But she's just an incredible person. Here's another great example, right? So she's been doing rock music. She was in Pete Wentz's band, Black Cards, for a while, and then she became a writer, and she's been doing pop music. She wrote Glowing in the Dark for Nikki Williams, Champion for Selena Gomez, and then to be dabbling in the hip hop industry, we know with G-Eazy, and then of course with Rihanna and Eminem, and then now she's got a #1 country song.
Yeah.
Called,
was it with the Florida Georgia line?
Yeah. You know it. I forget the title right now.
I had no idea. Not that I would, but I had no idea.
Yeah, she's definitely like made it known.
Meant to be. If it's meant to be.
Yeah, if it's meant to be.
Exactly.
It'll be. It'll be. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, she's definitely made it known that she's a boss in wherever she is.
Yeah, she's everything about her is just, you know, is totally who she is. You know,
it's been a trajectory. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, overnight BB Rexa.
Not at all.
No, I've watched people. That's a great insight to have from your angle, because people like always think that these things happen like overnight. They're like, oh, well, she just had that song, and so that's what made it big. Like, no, getting to that song was a process in and of itself, you know?
Right. I mean, she keeps it real. She keeps it true. She's, I mean, even in the studio sessions, she's in and out of the session. She's on calls. She's doing this. She's doing that. She's a New York girl, you know, she's from Brooklyn. So that's just kind of who she is. But even despite her busyness and how crazy she is, you know, she's still really chill, real humble. You know, she brought my daughters on stage with her when she came to Boston. My daughter wrote a little school project that meeting BB Rex was one of the coolest things she ever did. So I sent her a picture of it, and she's writing back to me like, that's really cool. Like, you know, she's just a very humble person. You know, she didn't have to take the time to write back to me about my daughter's school project when she's rehearsing for Chester from Lincoln Park's memorial concert, you know, and so it's like, she's just a good person deep down, you know. I think a lot of people take her busyness and demandingness and that sort of thing as, you know, call her, you know, that she's rude, she's this, that, whatever. She's not at any of those things. She's just very straightforward. She knows, she's direct about what she wants to get.
Well, she's focused and she's busy.
And I think we've talked about this. There's those people that can be that person, you know what I mean? That see the whole picture of what they want and just verbalize that to everyone surrounding her, because if you're not able to deliver the thing that she needs you to, then she needs someone else to do it, because this ship is moving and she needs these things done, and she already sees the whole plan.
Yeah. She built her career herself. She didn't get discovered. She wrote and wrote and wrote, and she got placements for these artists. And then next thing you know, she took a lot of the money she made from the placements and funded her own tour. And she funded her first Warped Tour and everything. And she built it herself. You know, she's a tough one, and she goes hard. She goes real hard.
That's so cool.
And that's the dedication that it takes, and people don't realize that it's like, this probably isn't going to happen for you in 3 months or 6 months or a year. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff to get through that gets you to that level. That it's not overnight. There's what are those photos with the tip of the iceberg through the water and the rest of it. You know what I mean? But that's true. That's really what it is in this industry. Is a shitload of hard work, one way or the other. Yep. Especially now.
Well, my whole thing is, the longer it takes you to get up there, the bigger your foundation is, and you have more staying power. And every now and then you get a flash in the pan, someone boom come up, and then all of a sudden they're gone. But it always is the guys that have the staying power, or the artists. Everyone's like, yeah, that was overnight, but then you find out their story, and it was like 10, 15 years. You know, and that's a main thing. It's like, it takes a lot of resilience, it takes a lot of drive, and it takes a lot of it takes thick skin to make it in this industry, because it's a lot of no's. It's a lot of evolution. You have to, just like anything else, you have to fail in order to get better, and then to adjust, and then to change. And I mean, Lady Gaga's a great example of that. You know, she has a very similar story to BB Rexa, and then now she's one of the biggest superstars in the world. But at first she got every no. Jay-Z, same thing.
Honestly,
all of them. Yeah, and that's Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga.
Yeah, you have to, and
me.
That, and that weeds it out. That weeds, the people that aren't supposed to be there out. Because most people need that instant gratification. They can't, if they don't get it within 3 months, 4 months, you're like, we get it all the time. Like, artists are like, I released a song and only got 10,000 views or 1,000 views or 100 views. And it's like, yeah, well, that was your first song.
Right. Yeah. Right. People don't no is a good answer in this industry. No is a great answer. It's yes or no. Those are great answers. That means you're
how you handle it.
It's they love you or they hate you. Yeah. It's one or the other. That's it. The opposite of that is being forgotten. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, no one loves you until they hate you too. I've always noticed that if you're taking off and you got that thing going on for yourself, plenty of people are going to hate you. And that's good too.
Love and hate are the same exact thing.
It really is.
Yeah, it's a reaction.
They actually have done experiments. It's the same part of your brain that fires, to produce that kind of energy.
You've invoked something out of them, an emotion, whether they love or hate you. It's
passion.
It works.
It's just passion.
Yeah.
Whether it's
that's why Kanye kills it.
Yeah.
And it's you got to put your passion into the right goals. You know what I mean? Because I think people think like sometimes that the finish line is getting that record deal or getting that placement or getting that publishing deal, where that's not
the starting line.
That's the starting line. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're like, oh, here I am, and I think that's what happens to a lot of people. They're like, oh, I got signed, I'm with the label. That's it. That's gravy. And where more often than not, that's the nail in the coffin.
right.
Is because you are not focused on building your career. You were focused on getting this thing that you thought was going to do it for you. You know what I mean?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, you're just working to qualify for the race.
Yeah.
And then once you get to that race, that you got to run that fucking thing.
It's now you got to work even harder, you know? Right. Or you know, if the goal is building your career and building those fans, and then all those things are going to fall into place where they should, versus you just trying to, you know, jump the line and get to the label because you think the label's going to do it for you, where really they're not. They want, you know, they're there to support you.
They're there to make money.
They're there to make their money.
Yeah, and that means by putting you to work. That's it.
And to expand the money that you were already making.
Yeah,
you know, if you
and to collect your money,
especially nowadays they want to. You know, invest in a sure product. They want to know that you got to prove that it's already making money, or it's selling, or it has potential to. And if you don't, they're not going to take that. They're not going to roll the dice on you. Back in the day, they could fucking spend $100,000 on a project because they were spending $1 million on 10, you know, over the course of 10 of them, and one of them would hit and make all the money back. Right. Now they don't do that. They like to see what's already making money because they can see it. The data is there now. You know what I mean? They're not going in blind. They can. There's plenty of other artists that are popping up that are making money that they'd rather put their money in, as opposed to this one that's never made a dime.
Yeah,
it might sound good, but you know what? We'll wait till she makes money and see if she can do it.
Yeah, and it's all they do is provide, like, all right, here are these people that are now on your team, where you can build that. If you're doing well enough, you can put those people on your team on your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they'd be happy to quit their jobs and work for you. You know.
Yeah, and making money is not always the job of the creator to figure out either, though. You know, so like, a lot of people get sometimes so caught up in that they've got, you know, it's like they're.
Well, you need to know, like, if you can have the capacity to handle both sides of the coin. If not, then you need that person that's going to be on your team that is that person. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a partnership from the start of, hey, I'm never going to be this business person. I need you to help me do this. And there's plenty of people that want to be inside of the music industry, but are not talented and not in that way.
Yeah,
in music, they just want to kind of be that person. You know what I mean? So, you know, don't be afraid, I guess, to make that. If you're like, I'm not that person, don't be afraid to make that kind of partnership with someone where it's like, who knows? Maybe it's like, hey, we're gonna start this thing together. Like it's a company. Yeah, I'm the face, I'm the artist, but here we are. We're about to both put in the blood, sweat, and tears into this thing that gets it off the ground.
Yeah, literally,
like
blood,
Dre
sweat,
London,
and tears.
Dre London and Post Malone. You know, he was that. You know, they were like a duo. You know, he came up and they came up together and worked as a team.
Yeah. And everything they're doing now with the wine, with the high heel shoes they're putting out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Crazy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're right. You made a good point that if you don't have that skill set, if you can't handle both, then you have to bring somebody on.
You have to bring them on. You need a partner.
Don't try to just do it because you feel like, oh, I have to learn how to do this. You don't. Right. Because sometimes people will compromise their art because, you know, it's a better way to make money, they think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they don't want to split the pie. Like, listen, if 100% of zero is zero. If you can't get that thing off the ground and make money, you're never gonna. Yeah. And if it requires you to bring a team on to make that money, then fucking feed everybody, because now everyone's eating. Yeah, that's another thing.
I think people should focus more on making an impact than making money. Because you make an impact, it'll happen.
If you're worried about giving out splits and bringing a team in, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, you're already fucked.
Yeah, you're already fucked. Because you're like literally giving out splits from zero. Right. It's like, bro, you don't make any money yet. What are you doing? You know? So that's a huge issue. We see it all the time. We're like, well, yeah, and I don't want to bring this person on because then I'm going to give him a cut. It's like, a cut of what?
Yeah.
You're not making any money yet. Like, who cares? Bring them on.
Yeah.
Negotiate that down the road when you're making money.
You should want to give them a cut of the cost that it's taking you to get here, because right now all your percentages is a percentage of the debt of
getting you up. ASCAP and CSAC all on 3 different screens, and then just let them Google and search any song they want in the world and look how many songwriters are on that song.
Yeah, exactly. And then look at who the manager is, then who the business manager, day manager, business manager, then who's their agent. It's like, listen, that pie's there to get split up, and you know, obviously be selective of who you're bringing in, but you need the team. And what are you going to give them unless you can pay them outright, which no one can at first. You know, independent artists have zero money. So how are you going to pay your manager? You got to give him a cut. You know, you need.
That'll give them the reality check, because the only reason they like that song is because of all those people listed. The only people they've even heard that song is because of all those people listed.
Yeah.
You know, so they've got to understand that.
There is exceptions. You know, there's the guy that can write the whole song, and there's the guy that also can, you know, self-manage. But then always becomes a time when they do split it out. But that's very rare. You know, like those are rare. And those are unicorns.
It's totally,
you know?
And it's totally okay to not be that person. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's okay to recognize, like, hey, I'm super talented as an artist, and yeah, there's other people that are also super talented as an artist, producer, business person, manager, but like, you don't have to be all those things. Some people are that and some people aren't. But if your main thing is like,
you can be super talented, but you're not a superhero. You still need to do that.
Exactly.
It's you know, it's still okay to just be a super talented artist. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right
100%. Yeah. So what do you got going on now? What's up? What do you been working on right now?
Today I'm doing a podcast with my boys at 13.
Yeah, well, we just worked on something. We, you know, collaborated in the studio, I think, for the first time, like, going hands-on for Whitney Ray, which that's going to be a cool project. You're doing a bunch of songs.
Whole bunch of stuff.
Lucky enough to kind of tap in on one.
Yeah, we've got a lot more to do.
Hell yeah.
A lot more. I actually have 2 or 3 other projects I'm going to talk to you about too after this.
Yeah, so and it was funny. So Eric from Shallow Side was just on TikTok going through, and he was like, what the hell? He saw Red 13, and it was a post that she had done.
That's awesome.
From the studio. And he was
yeah.
And he's like, yo, what are you guys doing over there?
You know what's funny? We listened to Shallow Side on the way down here, because I played them the video that we did with here in part of it at my house. Yeah, that's crazy. So she knows exactly who they are. So if he comments on her page or anything like that, she's
that's cool.
like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Such a small world.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is. It's all about relationships and collaborations and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So you had told us that no one got to hear it because you told us on the test podcast. But there's a great story to how you ended up working with Brooke Hogan.
Well, I mean, I ended up working with, how it initiated was through an agent that took a track and placed it with Brooke. And at the time, of course, it was Hogan Knows Best, not Brooke Knows Best on VH1, and everything went down. What happened on the show really happened in real life to her father, unfortunately. But they ended up dissolving that show, and then it became Brooke Knows Best. So I went down to work with Brooke and give her a track, which was really cool. And we hung out. She was super dope. She did an awesome song. And then we left, came back to Boston, and we're thinking, this is cool. It's the beginning of a new relationship. There's a lot of cool things going on here. And then next thing you know, all that shit went down. They dissolved the show. It was like a lot of bad press for them. The whole family changed their phone numbers and everything. And I was like, well, there goes that. And I don't know Brooke. And then all of a sudden I saw she was doing a concert in Boston at the Big E. And I don't necessarily advise doing this to anybody, but I just decided, you know what, let's go out there and see if we can find her. So we put on suits to try to pretend like we're part of a management team for her. You know, I used my business card. I had a CD printed of tracks anyway, and I wanted to see. So I just went, and I couldn't believe it. They let us right in the gate, no admission. So I got into the Big E for free. We walked in, and then we went over, and I think I was just sort of like, I was hungry. So I was eating some lobster, of course, and I look over, and there's a Ferris wheel. Yeah. Like, you know what? I could ride the Ferris wheel to see over where the little concert is, and I could see where she's probably going to pull in. So I
love it.
This is the only thing I paid for. I paid for a ticket for the Ferris wheel. We went on the Ferris wheel, and we looked down.
Sounds like Jared.
Yeah. And then I saw exactly where the limo was probably going to pull in, so I went over to that side. The security, of course, was trying to get in the way, and I said, no, take this CD. We'll give it to Brooke and tell her Jared's right here. I have her music. She needs her music. That's all I kept saying. I'm not lying. She does need her music, and I did have her music. But he was thinking I was talking about the music for that show. So I said, you know, I have her music. She needs it. Just go tell her. So he went over there, and of course, 2 minutes later, she comes running going, Jared, oh my God, give me a big hug. Got her new number again, and then we've been in touch ever since. And we ended up scoring her TV show and doing a second album with her, and she's connected us to so many people. You know, I met Donatella Versace. I met, you know, Russell Simmons, all these people through Brooke. You know, just because her world is just insane. Of course, biggest thing of all, I met Hulk Hogan, which was amazing.
So, brother.
Right. Yeah. Put me in a headlock. True story. Almost popped my head up like a grape.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a good story, dude.
Yeah, that is such a good story. It's just, you know, you can't let those contacts go. You got to put in the extra effort.
It's like, you never know. Somebody's around that you kind of have a connection with. Just go. Just try it. Yeah.
If you end up in a holding cell for a couple hours, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you get a spring for the Ferris wheel ticket to be successful. That's
it. That's it.
That's what you got to do. See, that's the thing. You put in the effort and you get the reward. Some people wouldn't have done that. Some people wouldn't have showed up. Some people wouldn't have, they would have taken no from the security guard. You know what I mean? It's like you got to just always keep fucking pushing, no matter what, whatever the situation is. You know?
Yeah. So we made it happen. You know, it was cool. And she's opened so many doors, and to this day, we were just having the other day. She's working on so many amazing things, you know, on her own because of who she is and the position she's in. She's producing a lot of shows. She's involved in a lot of programs that are on Amazon. Of course, she's so tied in with WWE. So you know, it's a number of things that are sort of floating around her that we could take advantage of for sure.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So we got a video that we're going to be working on 2 weeks. So you're getting ready for all the costume design on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything.
All the
right now, the costume design.
The whole look. So, and I feel like this is like right up your alley. You know, it's kind of like creepy, dark.
Well, for the
dark.
Well, no, you like. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but he loves decorating for Halloween.
Oh, Jesus.
No, but what I'm saying is, you know, you're gonna be able to pull a lot of that stuff for this music video, which I think is gonna be pretty epic because it's got kind of like a Mad Max vibe. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
So
that's gonna be a blast.
That's the next project we're working as a collective.
He
right?
does love Halloween.
Unless is there anything else in between?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. But in the meantime, Halloween is coming, and this is how we'll wrap this show up because it's time to wrap it up. But Jared, I went to his house the other day. He built a fucking house in front of his house so he could put lights and little fake fires, and he has coffins floating with skeletons, and all this shit is just everywhere. It's pretty fucking funny and epic, but that's what happens when a set designer takes all of the shit from every video you make and brings it home and stashes it in the woods until a special moment.
Hey guys, what are you doing with those spider webs?
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Thank you for those. Great.
I love it.
So is that
looks awesome.
Is that the final resting place of the infamous train set?
Well,
no, that's it.
Beetlejuice. Anyways,
I watched that last night.
That's funny.
Classic.
Beetlejuice. I did think about you actually when I watched it.
You're gonna think about it every time you see it. Now, one of these days, this video is gonna come to life. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah. So the last thing, Jared showed up here one day with this like legit like multi-piece like giant village of a train set. And he's like, you mind if I just keep this here for a few days? Like 6 months later, we're like, Jared.
Way longer than that.
And it was like, it took up like the whole studio.
I built a shelf for it.
Yeah, he built it. So
At first it was in the studio.
No, at first it was in the studio. And then his solution, instead of getting it out, was I'm going to build a shelf for it and just kind of leave it here.
And we were like, all right, well, that's better than it taking up the whole studio. And then it lived there for a long time.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Well, when you have an opportunity to get a cool prop that you could use, that's
so
just
if anyone is looking for a music video where we get to use this miniature train set as a prop, Jared's ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah, right. Let's go. Let's put it to use.
Let's lock in.
It's funny. All right, I think that's about
it. Thanks for coming, Jared.
Man.
Thanks for coming again. It was great talking with you again.
I'll be seeing you tomorrow, probably.
Yeah, I'll see you in like
10 minutes. I'll see you in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
But we'll get you back on. I feel like, you got to be like a reoccurring guest.
That's as long as the audience doesn't care.
Yeah. like, hey, don't ever let him back on.
Yeah, we'll find ways to keep it interesting. Maybe we'll do like a deconstruction of one of the,
that'd be cool.
Something a little bit more pointed on set design or something like that.
Yeah, I think this podcast will evolve where we start bringing some music on and start discussing that kind of. So one of the pieces of feedback we get is like people like, oh, I'd love to hear the song that you guys are talking about or watch the video that you guys are talking about. So I think we're gonna start evolving that into the podcast. I think what I'd say this is like phase one of it. We're kind of just getting it together, bringing our friends on, and then now we'll go into these other aspects and segments. So we'll do that. We'll pick a time to kind of dissect something that we all worked on together.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go check out the fucking setup at his house. Let's go.
Let's do
it.
All right, and we're off.
Halloween time.
All right, we're out.
Yo, I gotta see it though. I definitely.